Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jolie Knots Crochet. Share with your friends. Hit that little notification bell so you can get notified when new patterns release. All our videos are available in left and right-handed tutorials. Hi everyone, welcome back to Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal and today we are going to be making this slanted granny kids crop top. Now this top does come in sizes from 2 and 3 toddler all the way up to 12 and 14 youth. And it is worked in vertical rows. I did use 100% cotton since it is summertime right now, and if you're wearing a crop top it's probably because you're hot. So you can use any yarn that you like. I just chose to use cotton for mine. Now the reason I call this a slanted granny is because it is actually made with the granny stitches in as far as the 3 double crochet groups. However, instead of sitting in between our grannies, they're sitting on top and they have a slant to them. So when this is put together, that slant will be going down on one side, and if you flip it over, it will be going up on the other side. All right, so I will go ahead and leave scrolling up on the screen the approximate amount of yardage that you're going to need for this project. It is a really super quick project. You can probably get it done in just a couple of hours and have something really fun for your kids to wear. All right, so the way that we are going to be working this out is going to be in vertical rows. So we will have 2 panels that we're making lengthwise, and then we will fold them over, seam up the front and the back to create a neckline, and seam up part of the side to create an armhole. And then we'll be putting a band on just to bring it into a small cinch. Now there will be a link for the written pattern in the description box below. The yarn that I'm going to be using today is I Love This Cotton in the color Bright Teal. Now this comes in a 3.5 ounce skein, 180 yards, 100% cotton, machine wash and dryable. Now you can use any cotton, like I said, you could use any yarn really, as long as it's a 4-weight yarn. All right, so this one I made here is a size 8 to 10. I am going to make one with you today that's a size 6 to 7. I used approximately 270 yards for this size, and we're going to probably need about 240, 250 yards for the size 6, 7. Now we are also going to be using a 6.5 millimeter hook. You can use a stitch marker if you like, just to help you see kind of where you're at in the row repeats. This is going to be in 4 rows, 4 repeat rows is what we'll have. And to get started, we're just going to go ahead and take a slip knot, and I will leave on the screen, scrolling up, the amount of chains that you are going to need to get started. My starting chain is going to be 62. So I'm going to go ahead and chain my 62, and then I will show you how to do the first row. Okay, once we have our 62 chains, our first row is going to be a single crochet row. So we're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then into every chain after that. The count for your single crochets should be 1 less than the amount of chains that you have. So go ahead and finish out placing your single crochets, and we will get started on the first row of our repeat. Okay, so I have finished all of my single crochets, and to get started on row 2, This is going to be the first row of our repeat. We're going to chain 2, and our chain 2 is not going to count as a stitch. Every row is going to start with a chain 2, but it won't count as a stitch. Now the first thing we're going to do is to put 3 double crochets right into that first stitch. And here's our repeat. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next. That's what you're going to repeat all the way down to the other end until you have 4 stitches left, and I will meet you right back there to show you how to end out the row and get started on row 3. Okay, here we are at the end of the second row. You should have 3 stitches left, and what we're going to do is skip the last 2 stitches, and then we're going to put 1 single lonely double crochet right at the end. To get started on row 3, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. And we're going to place 2 double crochets into the first stitch. Now we're going to work our repeat. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next. So in this row, our 3 double crochets is falling on the last double crochet of the 3 double crochet group before that, which should be the same all the way down the remainder of your work. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next. So go ahead and repeat that. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next until you get to the end of the row. And I will show you how to finish out the row and get started on the next one. Okay, here we are. I have reached the end of the row. I have 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, and in the last stitch, I'm placing 2 double crochets. That is the end of your second repeat row. We've got 2 rows left. Now your next 2 rows, so row 1 is your single crochet, row 2, row 3, row 4 and row 5 are actually repeats of each other. I will show both of them to you, and then I will let you finish out the remainder of your repeats for your size. Chain 2 and turn your work. Place 1 double crochet into the first stitch. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch and place 3 double crochets into the next stitch. Now we will work our repeat. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next. That's what you're going to repeat all the way down. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next. You'll see as we're going this way, since we've switched directions, your 3 double crochet groups will land on top of the first double crochet from the group before. So go ahead and finish out your repeat, and then I will meet you back to show you how to finish out the row. Okay, here I am at the end of the row. When you have 4 stitches left, what we'll do next is we're going to skip 2 stitches and we're going to place 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the last stitch. So your work should look like this so far at the end. Now remember, row 5 is a repeat of row 4. We are chaining 2, turning our work, placing 1 double crochet into the first stitch, skipping 1 stitch and then placing 3 double crochets into the next. From there is where we're going to begin our repeat, skipping 2 stitches, 3 double crochets into the next stitch. Work that all the way to the end, and I will meet you back with 4 stitches left at the end of your row. Okay, here I am at the end of the row. I have 4 stitches left. I'm going to skip 2 stitches and place 2 double crochets into the stitch after that, and then 1 double crochet into the last stitch. Now these 4 rows, rows 2, 3, 4, and 5, those are your repeat rows. I will leave scrolling up on the screen exactly how many rows you are going to need for the size that you're working. The size that I'm working, I'm going to need 11 rows. So I've already got 4 of them. I'm going to repeat it again, and then in my 3rd repeat, I will leave off the last row because then I will have 11 total rows of double crochet. So work however many rows you need, and then you're going to make a second panel to look exactly the same, and then I'll meet you back here and I will show you how we're going to put it all together. Okay, you should you should have 2 panels now, and you should have left a long, approximately 10 or 12 inch tail so we can seam up the side for the arm panels. Now, before we sew them all together, you're going to want to make sure that the inside where row 2 is, one should be like the right side and one should be the wrong side. And the reason we're doing that is so that the grannies all slant in the same directions, or opposite directions, I guess I should say. So on one side they're going to be slanting inwards, and then on the other side they're going to be slanting downward. Okay, so go ahead and take your tapestry needle, and on each side of the panel we're just going to whip stitch it together. So going through the top of one stitch on one side of the panel and the top of the first stitch on the other, and we're just going to go around and around. Now this of course is customizable for the size child and the size arm openings that you would like for your child. For the smallest size, we're going to go up about 14 stitches all the way to approximately 24 stitches for the largest size, and I'll go ahead and leave those suggestions on the screen. But like I said, you can leave the arms open a little bit wider if you like. I do think that it looks better when it's more fitted to the child's arm and it gives it more shape. And it might seem a little bit small, but this is also not going to be in the armpit. This is going to be more at like the middle upper arm. Okay, so now that we have the arm side stitched up, we are going to stitch up part of the middle, leaving an opening at the top for a V-neck. This will be the neck opening. So you are going to stitch up, and I'll leave on the screen again approximately how many inches you're going to leave open for the top. Mine's going to be about 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mine's going to be about 5 inches actually. And I am going to go ahead and take some yarn, thread that back up, and I am going to go through the chains. So we're stitching up the middles here. So you're going to go through the chains, creating the full panel, and you're going to do the same thing for the back. Through one chain on one side, through one chain on the other side. And that's it, pretty simple. So you'll do this for one side. Now, of course, you can adjust the V-neck sizing for a larger opening or a smaller opening. But it's going to be anywhere from 5 inches in the smallest size to about 6.5 or 7 inches at the most, really, for the largest size. Okay, so now that I have the middle seamed up on both sides, I am going to take my yarn, I'm going to attach it at either side. One of the arm sides, so it doesn't really matter which side. It also doesn't really matter if you are on the front side or the back side, or the inside or the outside. It's not very necessary. We're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're doing 6 so that we have a band that is 5 stitches in length. We're going to single crochet into the second chain and into the remaining 4 chains. So you should have 5 single crochets going up towards the body of your work. Now when we connect them to the inside or to the body of the actual pattern, what you're going to consider chains, or what you're going to consider stitches, is the top of the stitch, the post of the stitch. So these are all double crochets going down here. The top of the double crochet, the post of the double crochet, the top of the double crochet, the post of the double crochet. And the way that we're going to get this to kind of bunch in a little bit is to, when we come up, my next stitch here is the top of the double crochet. So I'm going to single crochet. Now I'm going to single crochet 2 together. So into the post, pull up a loop, and into the top of the stitch. Pull up a loop, pull through both, and now you're going to turn your work. We're skipping both of those double crochets that we just made, and we're going to single crochet into the back loop only of the 5 stitches going down the band. Chain 1, doesn't count as a stitch. Turn your work, and now we're going to single crochet again into the back loop only, going back up towards the body. Now the last stitch that you have is going to be a little bit hidden. Don't forget about that stitch. And since there's only 5 stitches, it's pretty simple to just count to 5. So count your stitches, or you might have a wobbly looking band. Okay, so when we get to the top, this is the last stitch that I worked into. So moving into the next stitch, we're going to single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet 2 together. And now we're going to work back down the band. And you're going to repeat that until you get all the way to the beginning, and then I'll meet you back at the beginning and show you how to slip stitch it together to close it up, and then your piece will be finished. Okay, so I've just reached the end of my band. So what I'm going to do is flip it so that I am seaming on the inside. And I'm just going to go through the back loop of the single crochets going down just as usual, but at the same time, I am going to pick up the chain on the other side. And then I'm just going to slip stitch. And we're just going to do the same thing going down. So you should have 5 slip stitches going down, and then you can cut, fasten off, and weave in all of your ends, and your project will be done. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Jolie Knots Crochet. You can join the Jolie Knots Crochet community on Facebook and show us what you created.